I mean, I suppose we should start with the comic relief. Dude, what is going on with Trump? Trump has decided it's 2 weeks before the election. We got North Korea amassing troops on the border of Ukraine. And what is Trumpy doing? He's talking about Arnold Palmer's. This is hilarious and also like super sad.
This man was strong and tough. And I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God.
Dude.
That's unbelievable. I had to say it.
He's like, I refuse to say it.
We have women that are highly sophisticated here, but they used to look at Arnold and say, bad, but he was really cool.
Dude, that's his play, right? No appeal to the voters. No talking about policy plans and protecting our freedoms. He wants to tell you a story about Arnold Palmer showering with other men. But bro, that about sums up kind of what we're dealing with in this election. You know what I mean? He's not a serious candidate. He's up there, telling stories, that kind of low grade pee-pee humor. That's wild, isn't it?
Latrobe, Pennsylvania is an area that Donald Trump won in 2016. He is there holding one of his signature rallies. There, a story about the local favorite son, the late golf superstar, really, Arnold Palmer, hailed from Latrobe.
Dude, even the host is feeling weird about that shit.
But it'd break the hell out of it because he was so powerful. And they went back to the members' bags because they couldn't afford another set. And it used very stiff-shafted clubs, very strong for those of you that aren't golfers. That's for like good golfers with power. Very stiff-shafted.
Stiff-shafted. Dude, stiff-shafted. Bro. Dude, Trumpy is having a day of penis observance, right? I mean, that's really what's going on, dude. Maybe Trumpy is trying to telegraph something to us. Maybe he's getting ready to convert to, a little something, something. Dude, Trumpy what is he doing, boss? Homie is having a meltdown. Oh, look at that, though. Check it out. When they cut away from the Trump rally on Fox News, they cut away to Kamala Harris. Look at that, baby. You gotta love it, right? Isn't that beautiful? Here's the crowd. Holy shnikes. Look at that crowd, dude. And I would like to point out, too, when you look at this crowd, unlike the Trump town hall where everyone in the crowd is lily white, Georgia is only 52% white. Georgia is 48% people of color. And when you look at this crowd, you see a lot of people of color. This crowd looks like Georgia, and that's huge. Dude, there were 20,000 people there, bro. Let's go! Dude, look at how diverse, though, the crowd is, man. See, to me, that just really means a lot. The crowd is so diverse, and I think that's really important because it should alarm us all that Trump goes to Georgia and does an event for all white people, or when he goes to Detroit and it's all white people. I mean, that's super telling that he's never in front of a crowd that is representative of what America looks like, ever. He is never stands in front of a crowd that fully represents all of America. He only stands in front of a crowd that represents him and the people that he likes, because he doesn't represent all of America. And that's fundamentally flawed, because a president's job is to represent everybody. And if you can't, or you're unwilling to represent everybody, you have no business being president. You don't. That's just what leadership is about. Dude, I think she's going to take Georgia. Let's go.
Under my opportunity economy, I have a plan to lower health costs and health care costs for people as they age, so they can grow old with dignity, and so their families are not financially crushed by the cost of home care.
Now, this is another thing that's really important because she has unveiled a package to have Medicare be able to pay for home health care for elderly. Now, why is this important? Because if you look at age numbers, we're about to face a situation where the number of elderly is about to skyrocket. There are currently 62 million adults age 65 and older living in the U.S. By 2054, which is in 30 years, that number's going to increase by 22 million. That is a massive increase. 100 and older is going to quadruple in the next 30 years. So we're aging really, really fast, and we're living really, really long. What's interesting, though, is how Kamala Harris is recognizing this problem that is coming 30 years from now and seeing the seeds of it now and wanting to establish a system that is getting ready to take care of that. So we don't have this colossal, governmental collapse as this problem starts happening. Whereas somebody like Donald Trump, dude, he can't even get through a speech without rambling off topic. That guy's not thinking about 30 years from now. He's thinking about staying out of jail, getting something right now for him. He's not looking forward to America's problems down the road at all. And the fact that he doesn't have any policy plans to address this stuff. I mean, he promised a health care bill back in, 2016, and he never even came up with the health care bill. Here we are 8 years later, and he doesn't even have a health care plan. No plan whatsoever. And he tried to actively dismantle the health care that we do have. So that's what's crazy about this shit. Is there's only one candidate that is actually thinking about America's future. And we really do need to think about this stuff. But Republicans don't. Trump says he's going to deport all the undocumented people, but he doesn't have a plan for how our food system's going to look when there's no workers to support it, or how our home's going to get built when all the construction workers are gone. He doesn't have a plan. He's like, nah, we'll worry about that after I do the stupid shit I say I'm going to do that's going to f everything up. That's why Trump had this big plan about his, big boy, tough guy trade war with China. And what did he end up doing? He ended up almost bankrupting all the farmers and had to give them $28 billion of taxpayer money because he's a fucking dumbass. That's what Trump does. He doesn't plan for the future. He just goes around fucking up and then throwing taxpayer money at it. Which is why he exploded the deficit.
Kamala Harris, that you've had enough, that you just can't take it anymore. We can't stand you. You're a shit vice president.
That's where he's at now, just unfiltered. You're a shit vice president. I mean, dude, he's getting ugly, like really nasty. You know what I'm saying? And again, he won't even pronounce her name right still. Right, Kamala Harris.
In a Connecticut hotel, one of these illegal alien monsters. It was a getaway. Do you know what that is? These are the...
Oh, he can't even answer a question. Okay, here's another one.
The United States is now an occupied
Dude,
country.
he is so down.
But no.
The United States is an occupied country, he says. Right? Dude, what is that statement?
The United States is now an occupied country.
Kamala Harris is talking about power to the people. And Donald Trump is talking about...
We will get critical race theory and transgender insanity the hell out of our schools. And we will immediately keep men out of women's sports.
Dude, his anti-trans shit is fucking crazy, dude. They're all cheering for shit that's just not even real.
We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be conquered. That's what they're doing. This is an invasion into our country of a foreign military.
A foreign,
We will be-
dude, there's a foreign military invasion now in our country. Huh? That's weird.
So much is on the line in this election.
It's a big one.
And this election is
might
not
be the-
2016
This
or
might be the
2020.
biggest election for
The
women
stakes are
and
even
civil
higher
rights
for obvious reasons,
in
including
60 years.
Because just a few months ago, the United States Supreme Court basically told the former president he is effectively immune no matter what he does in the White House.
Dude, that's so scary. Dude.
And just think about this, right? So before that ruling just a few months ago, at least there was some possibility of threat of consequence for misbehavior, right? For breaking the law. But just imagine now, Donald Trump with no guardrails. He who has vowed that he will be a dictator on day one. He who calls Americans who disagree with him the enemy from within. Understand where that comes from in history.
Yeah.
And says he would use the American military to go after American citizens.
Dude, that shit's crazy. Just that whole enemy within stuff to me is really bothersome. Like, I can understand if you have political disagreements, but this idea of trying to say a large swath of the country as the enemy within, and then trying to treat immigrants like the enemy within, this whole concept of, he even outright says that, you know, these dictators like Putin and Kim Jong-un who are now, you know, wanting to team up and invade Ukraine, he says that they're not even the real enemy. The real enemy is our own citizens that we disagree with. That's super harmful Nazi level rhetoric. That's the same shit that Hitler said about Jewish people back in the 30s. And before he attacked the Jews, he did it with the gay and trans people. He started with them. That type of language of demonizing Democrats or gay people or trans people, where their very existence makes them an enemy, or them having rights makes them an enemy, is just historically, every time countries have done that, really horrible, harmful things have happened that have led to like the collapse of that fucking country. There's nobody here in America that is anybody else's enemy. We're all here as a united American citizens. The idea is we're supposed to be working together to make sure that we all have a good life while demonizing no one in the process, because poor people aren't a problem. People of color aren't a problem. Gay and trans people aren't a problem. Immigrants wanting a better life aren't a problem. If there are any problems, it's definitely going to be the dudes way up at the top that are hoarding all the wealth, holding all the resources, and refusing to let the world have access to them. But even then, I don't think they're an enemy. They're just an echelon of people that have gotten out of hand that we need to, you know, distribute those resources. But like, you know, this whole enemy within, and then creating this idea of like violent corralling of that enemy is really problematic. It's like we have oodles of people and oodles of resources. We just need to get the resources to the people, and, you know, everyone's going to be fine. You know, it's a job we can do together. So we saw the clip about Donald Trump talking about Arnold Palmer, where he's talking about Arnold Palmer's and other dudes in the shower noticing it. That was what Trumpy is up to. He's not talking about policy. He's talking about dudes looking at Arnold Palmer's in the shower. And look at what the New York Times posted. This is what the New York Times posted about Trump's rally. Donald Trump opened his rally at the Arnold Palmer Airport in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, with a 10-minute monologue about the golfer for which the airport is named and who grew up here. In the most pivotal battleground state with election day in just 17 days, the former president spent the entire opening telling Arnold Palmer golf stories before finally launching in on the border. But this is what we're talking about with the sane washing. There's no mention here that during his 10-minute talk about Arnold Palmer, he's talking about insane shit that is completely like, why is the president talking about a golfer's fucking penis 2 weeks before the election. But they just sort of like, Donald Trump says the craziest fucking shit, unhinged fucking shit, and the press responds with like Trump's warming up that crowd with some loving stories. Kamala Harris will stand there and tell you everything about her policy position and give you all the heads up. And they're like, she's not being clear enough. We're wondering about whether she has the goods to be able to run the country. Dude, that's wild.